Sounds like we're good to go. Evening.
Hey.
Here we are. 1 week to go.
There we go. And now we're getting everything. Cool. Hello.
Hopefully everyone can hear us now.
We'll give people a chance to trickle in over here.
Exactly,
We've
yeah.
switched our channel.
Yeah, the chat's working nicely now.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, I'm going to give it a couple of minutes to let everyone arrive and start going through a list of questions. If anyone's got any questions they want added to the list, just chuck them into the chat and I'll fire them at Owen. How's this now, guys? Any better?
Is that sounding good? Sounding better? Test, 1, 2, 3. Speak up, bossy.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Alright.
Cool.
Right, I've got a list of 27 questions I'm going to run through with Map Wizard and Shard owner Owen. Selfishly,
I just want to clarify who we have here first. So I'm Owen, and then we have CLX who's interviewing me, and Expo who's hosting the stream and will chime in, and I think he might play a bit in the background while we're talking. The reason why I asked CLX to do this is because I think he has a great voice for radio, but also because he is the longest running, oldest community member of Outlands who's been here from day one. So I thought it would make sense for him to be involved in asking some questions.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm
keeping him up late, seeing as he's on the other side of the pond, but happy to have him.
This is the one thing I'll stay up late for, just in preparation for launch week, when I'm going to be sleeping 3 hours a night.
Sleep schedule gone haywire.
Okay, I reckon we've probably got everyone here, so if you're ready, I'm going to start firing on with these questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, selfishly, some of my own, ones that I possibly could have asked you in chat, but I think they're relevant for everyone to hear. Obviously, the thing that first interested me in Outlands was the map. When you first showed me the map, I was immediately interested, regardless of era or anything else. So, could you name 3 favourite areas of the map that you would choose, or that have got some kind of significance to you, or you enjoyed building? And could you tell us a little story about each one, if there is?
Sure. So there's a lot. I guess it's hard to narrow it down to 3. I think the first dungeon I built was Ossuary, which was kind of an exercise in map making. So it holds a special place in my heart, I guess just because it's the first one that I made, but also because there hasn't ever been a sandstone dungeon in Ultima before. So I was working with a new tile set and trying to do something that hadn't been done before. So Ossuary is definitely a dungeon that I think is quite beautiful. I like the spawn in there as well. That was really a time when Luthien and I were working more closely on the way things were being spawned, and I had some ideas that he incorporated, which were pretty awesome. Pretty awesome to see come to life, I should say, not pat myself on the back.
Yeah, it's my favorite dungeon by quite a distance, actually.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun to play in. I think it has a lot of redeeming qualities. It's also very close to Cambria, close to a town in general. So if you're looking for an easy dungeon to move out of the new player dungeon towards, then I think that Ossuary would be a good choice for you. Generally, when people say, like, where should I go next? After, they navigate their character, I'd say Ossuary would be a great first stop for new people joining the Shard.
Yeah, I think the dungeon builds quite nicely, actually, as you go through it. You can work your way through it quite easily.
There's also some throwback areas to it that might feel comfortable as well, or familiar. I definitely reference some older dungeons or original dungeons, and getting a bit of a tour on the stream from Expo, who's wearing a dress, I think.
He definitely is.
Yeah. And then number 2, there's this area. Someone actually just asked me this in chat, and I very eloquently responded. The area where the forest meets the desert. And there's this magical little spring that I built. It's a waterfall. Waterfalls are always really popular in Ultima. For me, anyway, I think because they were, special or interesting. There was that great waterfall on the original map, and that was always some destination that I wanted to go to. And so I built this really beautiful waterfall in the map, which has a pretty difficult spawn on it, actually, but I think it could be a beautiful place to play if you're interested in it. Good loot, nice spawn to camp.
When did you add that area?
Well, when I redid the desert, so that was kind of like the midpoint, the break point between the forest and the desert, which is a hard transition to do on a map, just because the textures are a bit limited and there isn't really kind of a natural transition that would occur when you build something like that. But that was 9 months ago, maybe. But maybe a little less, 6 months ago or so.
Amazing. I only came across it recently, so that shows how much I've been exploring. I really thought I had been exploring.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that you'll be able to enjoy with Outlands, is that you'll always find something new when you're out exploring, which I think is really cool.
Yeah,
so can you explain where it is in the map? So it's kind of north of the
Yeah, it's north of the desert, right? And south there's an abbey, which actually has a nice little graveyard for new players to hunt at. It's basically directly between the abbey and Cambria, or and Ossuary, so right in the middle. And then third, I just built this area. Luthia's called it the Umbermare town, basically, but it's spawned with horse riders, and it's a beautiful, scenic area. And it was kind of a culmination of map skill, I guess, because that's one of the last things that I built on the map, which shows sort of how much I can flex in terms of map making. But it's a beautiful area. There's a faction struggle there, which has a lot of tight corners. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing for those, but it's beautiful, worth exploring, good hunting spot, fun one.
And this is one of the more recent additions to the map, right?
I think it's the most recent addition on the map. In terms of like big content pushes, there was a section on the west side that I wanted to fill out. I didn't like the shape of the map, so I built in the bay and fleshed it out that way.
So this is the area that's, for those of us that bought the cloth map early on, this is the area that doesn't exist, right? Kind of.
Right, on the original
western edge of the mainland.
On the original cloth map, it doesn't exist. That's right. But on the release of the cloth map that we're selling now, it's present on that.
So mine is a pre-patch rare, basically.
Yeah, you've got a rare, a beta rare. Lucky you. I'll sign it for you.
Okay, so separate question. Quite a big question, I suppose. What would you do differently if you could start again at, say, 2 years ago?
Map-wise?
Everything.
That's a loaded question. I'll talk about the map. I think I'm qualified to talk about that more than anything. But I would change the shape of it. I think the fact that it looks like Britannia is a terrible coincidence. It's basically how the map evolved. At one point it was shoved in the corner, at another point it was a bunch of islands, other point it was very small with only one town, and now it's quite large. But the reality is that Ultima plays well with a certain perspective, and that perspective lent itself to me designing the map the way it came out. As it grew, it started to look more and more like Britannia, which actually spawned some of our lore. Basically, the map's like Britannia after a terrible disaster, which was a jumping off point for the lore story.
Yeah,
I think if I could change things, I would probably make it a different shape. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with how things turned out.
So you showed me the shape of the map, how you originally planned it, and it looks kind of more like the Shadowbane map than the
yeah, it was like a horseshoe, basically, like a circle, with Prevalia still in the center as the main point, and then there was one town in the north and one town in the south, which was something that I wanted to run with. But
I think it's quite apt that you've ended up with a more traditional shape.
yeah, I think so. It's a nice throwback in a way. I think people feel comfortable. There are certainly elements of the map that people recognize, which a lot of people can get hung up on not knowing where they're going or feeling like their favorite spots are gone and all that sort of stuff. But I think it's landed in a good spot.
All right, I will move on to some questions from other people that don't relate to the map before we bore everyone. Rosa has asked, is it okay to camp someone's house and murder them as many times as I want?
Yes. We have a policy against griefing that is, it treads some fine lines, and I think that a lot of discretion and maturity needs to be involved, but I know that that's a lot to ask from the Ultima Online community in general. But as long as you're not breaking a rule to grief somebody or you're abusing a bug, then I don't have any problem with you doing that. The thing with a social game is that if you're being harassed, you can leave. There's a whole world that you can run to if you're being bothered. So, if you're standing around, you're being res killed 20 times, then, my suggestion to you would be to leave. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the sun, kind of a deal. But yeah, if you are able to do something and you're not abusing a bug and, you're not slandering someone in the process or, homophobic or racial slurs as you go, then yeah, you go for it. Have fun.
Yeah, I think it's really good that you've set policies out beforehand. It's fairly clear to everyone what the rules are, and it doesn't really affect gameplay if you can avoid racism and other behavior of that type.
Yeah, for sure.
Fairly accurate.
Yeah, I think so. We'll have a language filter when we launch, which is something that we came to realize we needed in chat because I was waking up at 3 or 4 in the morning to people who are on these rampages of inappropriate language, which just wasn't a very welcoming way to run our community. So we added this bot that took care of language for us, and we realized how we've got a streaker, how beneficial that was for our community. And in game there will be a language filter as well, which basically won't allow you to say the same words you can't say in chat. However, you will be able to say what you want in guild chat, in party chat, and in your own home. It's just a way for us to maintain some semblance of respectability if you're at the bank or wherever you might be. So,
got it.
Yeah, that's a touchy subject because I know that a lot of people don't want, a censored world. We've had some recent altercations with people who feel like that is, taking an open world too far or controlling things too much. But I'm sorry, if you're not a decent human being, then you can get the fuck off my shard.
Yeah,
anyway.
I like that. By the way, I like the new desolate-looking Corpse Creek. It looks great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, Corpse Creek just went through some changes.
Yep, right, like this.
So,
like this.
Yeah. There's a large gray area now, which is fun for people who want that, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. It's a gray zone, a lawless region, and it's indicated by these gates and by the message that's popping up over your head. So if you're traveling in the area, you're susceptible to attack without penalty. And people that are murdering in that area aren't affected by the murder penalties, and it's open loot. Everything goes. Right now, you're not able to place a house, but you will be able to. So it is a housing region as well. There are some beautiful places for your house there if you want to be in the midst of constant conflict.
It looks like you've more than doubled the size of the grey zone, if I'm reading the map right.
Yeah, it definitely. I took a good look at the natural geographic features that were already in place and figured out what would make for the best gaming experience, basically, and opted to include the Chaos Shrine, and then all the way down to the south there's a river that crosses, which is now blood as well, and changed all the trees to be more desolate and dead looking. It's quite obvious when you're in the area that you're entering into a lawless place.
Oh, I think it's just a great idea to have an area where your only reason to be there would be to PvP, and which in that case it makes sense to remove any penalties from murdering.
Yeah, definitely. I also did a big expansion to the northwest. I merged an island with a with the land. So now there's quite a bit of extra housing up north. So if you're feeling inclined to be in this area, you can place a house there, but outside of the guard zone. So, or the lawless zone.
Right, I better ask you some questions, otherwise I'll just start talking.
Keep rambling on. We'll just chit chat
again. Yeah. Okay. Right. Let me pick something out. Right. This is one that I want to take a guess on as well, actually, and hopefully Expo will too. From Lox from the forum, what's the projected launch population, and do you foresee any launch day server issues? So two questions. Question one.
Yes.
Expo just says yes.
Yes.
Just yes. I think on the podcast I said 500 because I hate this question. It's such a hard thing to say or predict, or judging by the community that we have in place. There's over 2,200 people in Discord right now. We've gained over 800 members since we made the launch announcement. People are keen, and I mean, beta is hitting 100 players every night. It's a pretty big player base right now. So I think if I was to be humble, I'd say 500 still. Alas, I hope we're going to hit, we'll surpass 1,000, I think, for launch, which would be really fantastic. I think it might be the biggest launch since IPY, or since Ancorp, I guess, Ancorp 2, where they hit 1,500. So let's see how we go.
Expo, what do you think?
I like to just say 500. So
yeah,
just because I'd like to keep the number low. I know it's gonna be more though.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say 1,200 to 1,300, and I'm fairly confident in that number.
All right.
I like that.
Wish me luck. Pray for me. Pray for me.
Okay, so the second part of that question was, do you foresee any launch day server issues?
Yes, absolutely. No, Luthien told me I have to be optimistic when this question's asked. He yelled at me, he said, optimism! I said, yeah, sure, optimism. I just wrote a post on the website, which we're going to be releasing on Thursday, and I said there will be lag, there will be crashes, we most likely will be DDoSed. You will be griefed, PK'd, attacked, poisoned, whatever it might be. And it will probably be the most fun you've ever had playing Ultima. We're really trying to capture that, huge rush and feeling of, exploring something new and playing a new server and everyone being on the ground zero, entering into this experience. So, yes, we're going to do our best to communicate with people. We're going to do our best to keep the server running. Luthien and I have both taken the week off. Luthien, more importantly, so that he's here to fix anything that might go awry. But we've been in beta for 16 months. I think in that time, maybe we've crashed from a few issues. I know today we crashed from a house bug, but that's already fixed. There really hasn't been that much instability in general. And the server core itself is based on a historically very stable server, so I feel like we're in a good position in terms of stability. And in terms of connectivity and lag, well, when you put 1,000 people in one place, there's definitely going to be issues. I should stop saying 1,000, that's presumptuous. When you put 500 people in one area, there's going to be lag no matter what. That's just the nature of games on the internet. So my advice to you would be, if you don't have to be in an area that's busy, then leave. That would include Shelter Island, the new player dungeon. Go to Prevalia, get out of Dodge, find somewhere to play in relative peace, and that would be my advice.
Yeah, I think people have got to be realistic. Every server has launched with problems and crashes, and anyone that played OSI in the first 18 months to 2 years, it was an absolute mess. So we're lucky that we may get 1 or 2 days of crashes and problems, and then it will generally be stable from there on. So in comparison to historically, I can't see there being major issues.
Yeah, I think that I don't foresee us having that many issues. So that's cool. Something to look forward
another
to.
one of the major benefits of a 16-month beta.
Yeah, is that we've really had a chance to work through a lot of things. Also, if you're looking for an update, please don't message me directly or Luthien directly, because we're going to have our hands full in the first week at least of more important things to take care of than updating the launch status, or sorry, the shard status. But we will do our best to communicate through the announcement channel in Discord and also the announcement section of the forums. So if you're looking for information or an update or a status, simply ask in general chat, or then you can check the announcement sections of the forums or Discord.
Okay. I'm just going to pick a question out of chat as well, because I don't 100% know the answer to it.
Sure.
Aku TV says, do you know about how the mounts that go in your bag, how can we acquire them? So the mount tokens.
Oh, okay. Mount tokens are high-end system rewards, so you can get them through the society system in individual colors, from the arena system in black, and from the achievement system in default colors. So Expo's got one of those llama tokens in his bag that is available through the achievement system. So you need to do things to get points to get those. And they're quite expensive. I think they start around 300 points and then work your way up, so that could take you a considerable amount of time. But once you have one, they're basically bottomless mounts.
So it's not something anyone will be getting in the first week of the server, basically?
No, hopefully not.
Okay.
We'll have to wipe it if that happens. Just kidding.
Don't tell people that. If anyone is around that remembers when Siege Perilous wiped after a couple of weeks and half the players never came back, then yeah, don't ever tell anyone that. Question from Black T. Seems he's asked about 400. What is the status of major housing modifications such as basements or added rooms with teleporters, etc.?
I think in general we're against basements. Like, we've talked about this kind of extensively, and I don't think that basements are something that we're going to add at this point. I won't never say never on that one, because I know that people will, need something to spend their money on or something to work towards. But basements for me get sloppy in terms of handling, design. I think especially without custom housing, they just get a bit messy for me. I'd be more keen to talk about something like yards or sheds or docks if you're near water, or more overland expansions. Also, Black T has a lot of really amazing ideas. He throws them into chat, sort of stream of consciousness, and every once in a while you land on a good one. And he had suggested this art idea, like wallpaper or painting your walls, the walls of your house, so that you could customize certain rooms. You could have like a blue room or a black room or a pink room or whatever you want. And also maybe putting up some textural elements or plaster or whatever it might be, which is something that I could see us doing in terms of housing enhancements. I hate the idea of like a fully hued house, like changing your entire tower to purple. Like, that sounds terrible. I didn't spend 7,500 hours working on a map to have it ruined by some player's bad taste.
Yeah, you can tell your control freak behavior relating to the map. This is where we don't have custom housing as well.
Yeah, I see someone in chat saying Glacial Tower. Like, that's literally my worst nightmare. Literally my worst nightmare. Neon pink tower. No, not happening.
Neon stacked Glacial Tower.
I'm going to pull a few questions out of chat right now, actually, because I just see tumbling in here. Is this ServUO? No, this is a fully customized RunUO core. Basically, it's 95% rewritten, so we could probably call it not RunUO at this point, but that was where it came from. World saves will be more frequent to account for possible problems. We're upping it from 15 minutes to 5 minutes on launch. And also, after a crash, all players and pets will be hidden. So if we crash and you come back and you're in a difficult area, then you'll be taken care of in that sense.
I think the only one you missed from there is any plan about town housing.
No, not right now. Every building in every town has a purpose right now. As you're traveling around, you'll see that they all have NPCs in them. There are very few areas in towns that don't have a purpose. If they do not have an NPC, they're specifically for role-playing. So areas like Cambria and Andaria have certain sort of, nightly things, or a theater or a forum or arena, what have you. So that no town housing at this point. Though we have talked about giving guilds goals to work towards in terms of the guild prestige system, where if you do a certain amount of work. You kill a certain number of bosses, you take part in a certain number of factions, you take out enough corrupted shrines, and you'll gain prestige. And that prestige could be used to work with me to build a custom guild house somewhere on the map. But we're talking, years of work.
I really like that idea. That's
one. This is a future idea.
Yeah.
So.
By the way, before we move on, who do you think the streaker was? Two guesses. I know straight away who that was.
Axel.
Anyway. Yes, exactly. if even the pink shoes gave it away.
Yeah, he's the only one that likes that hue.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just dig something out. Okay. Any chance of adding poison archers, which is a question from Acarius Alexios on the forum?
No, we've been asked that a few times actually. Like the idea of flaming arrows or poison arrows. No, archery's really strong on Outlands. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to play with it. It is probably the most popular template on the field right now. So no, we're not making archery any more powerful.
Got it. Okay, from Kilgoo on the forums, obviously an orc. He said, "Would you consider no mount zones such as the orc fields?"
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that Luthien and I have talked about. We had discussed making that Corpse Creek lawless area into a mountless zone as well, because we know that a lot of the PvPers in this era like mountless combat. And our general idea was that there's already a major mechanic in place there, so we weren't going to introduce another one like a mountless mechanic. The mountless mechanic's really seamless, though. It's something that we could integrate really easily into other areas or make it regional. I think if we added an island and released it in the future, or a new, sub-map, whatever it might be, we could discuss making that all mountless. Also, all dungeons are mountless, and 50% of faction struggles are mountless, so there is definitely mountless combat, or mountless engagements or experiences happening on the map already.
On the subject of faction struggles, as you've mentioned that, this is a question just off the top of my head. Did I see the other day that Luthien has patched it in that GM gear doesn't drop to your corpse or isn't lootable now during faction struggles? Or is this a question for Luthien rather than yourself?
That's a question for Luthien.
Yeah. In the middle of asking that, I realised Owyn is not going to know the answer to the question.
Yeah, no. Let me just double check. I'm pretty sure. Putting me on the spot.
If that is the case, I think that's ended my concerns that faction struggles may not be that populated. I think that would be.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it was important to make an adjustment to that mechanic so that people would take part in faction struggle. Yeah, that was a good move. Also, pets don't have res sickness in factions anymore, and
okay,
we're trying to facilitate it so the game is a bit more playable. The event is a bit more playable.
All right. Well, staying with that theme, a question from Logic on the forum: are you concerned that tournaments may kill world PvP on the server? And is there anything in place to stop this from happening?
No, I think this question is. We just had a conversation like this. Sorry, I got kind of hung up there. We just had a conversation like this in chat recently, and someone was asking about Capture the Flag or Bomberman or mini games like that, and they were worried that people would only log in to play those games. And I am not worried about tournaments in particular interfering, because I think that the rewards are so great for playing tournaments that people will take part in them, but they happen so infrequently that it's not really a matter of it taking away from the overall gameplay experience. Also, no, I think that there'll be a ton of gameplay outside of tournaments, basically.
I don't see any issues. There's so much for people to do out in the world and so many things to work towards that conflict's going to happen organically because people are out doing treasure maps or hunting or doing all these hundreds of other things that the mad genius that is Luthien has added.
Yeah,
There's
I agree.
Going to be so much organic conflict. It's going to work. I genuinely believe it's going to work as early UO did, where things just happen out in the world because there's so many players out doing things. Faction struggles and tournaments aren't even going to be something concerned about for a long time.
I agree.
And even then, it'll only be a certain percentage of the player base.
So I just want to clarify, because I kind of stumbled through that question about gear dropping. Players who are participating in faction struggles will no longer drop any weapons or armor of GM quality or lower upon death. So that doesn't include aspect gear.
That's ended all of my concerns about faction struggles.
Just to clarify.
Okay, question from Costin. Any hope of a monthly Outlands podcast?
I'd love to. I think that'd be really fun if we got on a podcast and started talking about the goings on, the comings and goings of Outlands, or who's winning tournaments, or faction struggles, or
I think it's
who's setting fishing records, or who's has the most doubloons, or who has the most gold that week. All kinds of things. We've been joking around about Outlands Uncensored as well. like reading off transcripts of conversations that we have in the jail, or reading nasty emails and PMs and forum convos, like deleted forum posts, and just naming and shaming people as we go.
That would be a nice change,
Yeah,
I think you should do it, and you should invite players on it on every so often as well to talk about their experiences. I think it's a genius idea.
Have a chat. Yeah, for sure. I think that would be pretty funny. I've already been on the receiving end of some death threats and some pretty awful comments and conversation, and it's just like people are just atrocious. But I would love to publish a lot of those conversations, so that would be great.
Costin has asked some good and quite funny questions. Actually, you'll like this one. Is there any reason you would push back the launch date?
No. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to push back the launch date by about 5 months at this point, but we are...
Unfortunately, we're set.
Yeah, we're set. We're set. And every day I ask Luthien, like, how's it going? How you feeling? He's like, I'm not worried. So I just need to chill out myself and stop stressing so much. I think we're in a really good place, and basically everything that we want to add now, moving forward, can be done post-launch. As we really set out to accomplish a certain number of things, and I think that we have. And things are running pretty smoothly right now, and we're ready.
It's quite funny to think that I was kind of pushing you to launch a year ago.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. Like trying to launch before Christmas last year. Like, Luthien must have thought I was crazy. As I'd ask him like every week, like, so when's launch? When's launch?
I guess we just didn't understand how much he wanted to add and how much there was to correct.
Yeah, I don't think he was particularly forward with what he had in mind. Or I didn't understand the amount of work it would take to get us to the point where he wanted the shard to be.
But it's worked out for the best, because look at all the things it's given you the opportunity to add as well. So the map.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's...
Like, the Expo was just on his paper doll then. Look at the clothing and things like that. All those minor additions will really make it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that it's also given us a chance to facilitate our ideas and to build a community as well, which has been such a huge benefit. And I think for anyone who's just discovering Outlands now, we are a community that's pushing 2,200 members, and for a server that's unreleased, I think that's kind of unheard of. Yeah. That is definitely what beta has given us a chance to do, and I don't think there's anything wrong with a long beta. I did get pretty tired of people saying, like, when's launch, or members like yourself who'd been here forever, that you were being patient and respectful and, trying to, bite your tongue as we were going along. But Luthien has put in a tremendous amount of work. Thanking him is beyond words at this point, the amount of work that he's put into it. But he's done an incredible job, and I just kind of needed to let him do his thing, and he's done it, or is doing it. He's got a busy week ahead of him in terms of things to do, but...
I'm just watching Expo run around. Even the dungeons have got this kind of detail in them that the caves that you just can't see elsewhere.
Every cave has a forge as well. I know a lot of people have been asking us about that. We don't plan on putting forges on the side of mountains because that's always drove me crazy. Yeah. But if you're going to mine in a cave, then you'll find a forge there. But yeah, there's a lot of detail work that's gone into the map. It's been a labor of love.
There's a couple of questions in chat which match one that was asked, actually. So the Red Cross UO and Axel are asking about Christmas and Halloween events.
Yeah, we have good intentions of running a Halloween event, but we're 5 days before Halloween with our launch, and really I think that launch is our event, to be honest. If for some reason we find the time, the map area needs a bit of work still, and the mobs would have to be coded. If we find the time to do that, then we'll definitely have a Halloween event, but I just want to caution that might be an unrealistic goal. So don't necessarily expect Halloween, but I think we could definitely put something together for Christmas. That's a no-brainer. We'll try for Halloween for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure I speak for all players, but I know personally I'm going to be too busy power gaming to care about any kind of Halloween event at that stage. That might not be the case for everyone, but I think a significant majority may feel the same way.
Yeah, I'd like to think that players are like you.
Everyone should be like me.
Also, Halloween's such an Americanized, Hallmark holiday. It doesn't really mean anything to anybody. I personally hate Halloween. Not a huge fan of the day itself. So, seems a bit weird to celebrate it on a shard, especially as the first event. Really, kind of not consequential. Anyway, if we can do it, we will. But I'm not going to put pressure on my. Yeah, launches the event.
Another question from the chat that I think Expo has just answered actually about server birth rares, but it sounds to me that you're kind of keeping things close to your chest on this, which is probably the right move.
Yeah, the rare system still to be revealed. So
I like that.
There will definitely be server birth rares, launch rares. We have the trading card system, which will be in. There will be a launch card that you can collect with that.
I think if you reveal too much, they'll all be in Toby's bank box within 2 days anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Or Black T's. Black T sent me a chart he made on Excel. It was color coded and categorized about how he would suggest. I mean, I asked for it, so I shouldn't make it out like he's the bane of my existence, because it was a very well put together chart. But there are a lot of ideas around rares that we can incorporate, which is something that we are tackling.
Okay, I know I'm jumping around a bit now, but this is probably my favourite question of the lot. Arthur Zwart on the forum said, "Why are you doing this?" I'd like to hear about your motivations.
Why am I doing this? Yeah. Oh man, I ask myself every day, why am I doing this? Well, I think that UO has been my favorite game forever. I really struggle to play other games or develop an interest in other games. I have such fond memories of playing Ultima Online, and I think like all of us who are still playing the game are chasing that still, that nostalgia of experiencing something as amazing as UO for the first time. Oh, I get a lot of joy watching people run around on the map. I like creating worlds. I like seeing how people interact on them. Today, I was spying on players. We had quite a number of people on today that were trying, to set up launch things. And that's a nice looking house by the water there. And there were these two players, and they were running in different directions. They both had new player clothes on, and one of them had a shepherd's crook. And the one was running, he said hi, and the other person said sup, and then the other guy said, "Don't worry, I'm not a PK," and the guy said, "That's fine, like, you could kill me if you wanted to," and then they, kept running in their own direction, and it was just such a pure, innocent gaming moment that you just don't really see anymore. It's like such high voltage Fortnite skins and tournaments and Twitch streaming and all this stuff where there's just some purity at Ultima Online that I really love. And I don't think that any free shard has done Ultima justice in quite some time. So I'm pushing through to make Outlands great and release a project that I feel does justice to the game itself and also gives people a place to play forever, really.
You've just summed up why so many of us have had faith in this project for a long time, I think. Also, we now have a UO celebrity on screen with Expo.
Grizzly.
Nice
the great Grizzly's ghost.
Grizz on a Grizz.
Grizz on a Grizz, yeah, I gave him that stupid mount.
So, looking at these houses that have been placed around Andaria, can I use this opportunity to appeal to players to place the right style of house in the right area on the map?
You're asking a lot, but...
If anyone places a sandstone house outside of Andaria, I think you should ban them.
Outside of Cambria? I agree.
No, outside of sandstone outside of Cambria is fine. It's this kind outside of Cambria I wouldn't want to see. Sandstone is fine by Cambria.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I agree. At one point we were talking about doing a rebate, meaning that if you place a house and you place it on the right style of terrain, then you would get a discount, but it's a bit too complicated to control that. So the most amount of control that I have in this whole situation is that I made nice houses. So even running around, seeing weird houses in weird places doesn't matter because they're nice looking houses. That's the main thing for me.
I'm amazed at how good this looks in Orion, where Expo is running around now, and these houses
Yeah, Orion is a beautiful client, and
It's-
the world looks pretty good.
The one he's at now and the one he was at by the water a moment ago, just spectacular.
Yeah, sorry about the honks. They've got a car alarm going on outside my window. I think it stopped.
Okay, I'm gonna look for some more questions now.
I was wondering about that. I was looking around
Yeah.
if that was something of mine.
Fucking busy city tonight. Saturday night. Here I am doing an AMA about Outlands.
Okay, another one of my
What's
questions.
new?
Another one of my questions.
Hooray!
Yeah.
What element of Outlands so far had the most joy?
Ooh. The most joy.
It's Discord, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely Discord. Please don't message me anymore, anybody. Map making definitely has given me a lot of joy. I look at map making as a hobby, and sometimes I turn Discord off and I just turn on the map and I remember why I'm doing this in the first place. Community management takes like a certain character, I think, and I do enjoy it, and I do enjoy, managing the staff and working on those aspects of gameplay, but there's a certain amount of Discord that's really aggravating, and I'm trying to hold it together. Thankfully, we have a great community now that are sort of stepping in and answering questions when needed, and I feel less obliged to answer everything. So I'm definitely asked a lot of questions, and Lucius and I are asked a lot of questions directly, which you could find simply by going to the forums and, taking a wild guess where you might find the information. But yeah, it's definitely, I'd say the map, development, building. I think building a community has given me a lot of joy. Meeting a lot of great people. I had the opportunity to meet CLX when I went to London. We had a nice dinner with a few of his guildmates from 20 years ago, and
It's crazy.
I've gotten to know Expo, and there's a real sense of community that you get from
Sorry.
a real sense of community that you get from Ultima that you don't get from anything else. So that's definitely a huge point of joy for me.
I think the community as well. I mean, I think it's probably based on the age of the player base now, but this is the least toxic UO community I've seen. And there has been a few days where it's been bad in the Discord, but in general, it's really, really positive. And I think that's in big part to you setting the rules early on, that you weren't going to take any shit and certain things weren't acceptable. I think that's a big part of the reason that there isn't that much of it now.
Yeah, I think it's important to set guidelines that people can follow. I think if we have easy to follow rules and easy expectations, then things don't overflow in that sense. Right now we have a trash channel that I want to delete. That shit drives me fucking crazy. But
God, do you actually read that?
well, sometimes I get like summoned down there and I just have to like sift through the fucking pits of hell. But that's where I banish people to when I don't want them to be part of general chat. There have been quite a few instances of players that have come in and it's just constant negativity. There's this amazing complex that people have is if we're making this for them or we owe it to them to do things a certain way. And I'll say it, time and time again that everyone has their favorite 5 minutes of Ultima's history, and they're all chasing that again. They all want that moment where they felt like they were the strongest or the best or they had their best memories. And the reality is that at some point we have to stand our ground and make the shard the way that we want it to. And I think that judging by the number of people who are interested in it, it's working. So
that's a really important point, because up until very recently, I was one of those who was convinced my favorite era, which also happens to be the era that I was best era. And I think so many people are caught up in the middle. And it's a difficult thing to realize that actually it's not all about when I was good at the game. It's when the game was at its best.
Right, when the game was good. Yeah.
Axel just asked a really good question, actually, not politics comment. What's your favorite secret on the map? I'm guessing you won't reveal your secret, but is there one you could reveal?
The jungle teleporters are pretty cool. I think once you figure that out, then you'll be able to access some islands, which would give you a leg up and launch for sure. If you can find that area, you'll have access to Inferno and also to Darkmire Temple. So that is something that is pretty cool. Once you learn how it works or you figure out which teleporter goes to which island, there's 4 of them. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that, and I like the changes to Hidden Valley in general. I like the subterranean area.
Yeah, I think that area is pretty cool. Also, there's a teleporter to an island that I took from Relpor. They call it Morthuna. I guess that's its name here too. But there's a special teleporter that goes from the mainland to that on Outlands as well, which it would be a great new player hunting ground. So if you can find that teleporter as well, it's in the central west.
There's me thinking that I know the majority of things in the...
Yeah. I was watching Papa Carl stream the other day, and he's running around, and he was one tile off finding the teleporter. I just felt like saying, like, reaching through the computer and shaking him, and go, there's a teleporter! But he missed it.
While we're talking about the map, firstly, I don't know if you talked about it previously. I feel like I've heard you say some podcasts, so apologies if so. But how did you get into mapping in the first place? Who taught you?
I figured it out myself. I'm a bit of a self-starter in that sense, I guess. I just was curious how to do it, and I found this program. I think I used to play with this guy named Tahu, who was a developer on a shard called Oblivion, and he knew that I was interested in mapping, and at the time I was just building things on Green Acres on RunUO, like using Pandora's Box, which is the most cumbersome way to do anything. I can't even build in game anymore. It drives me crazy. And he found out about Centered, which was in its first release, and he sent it to me then. And I started playing with it and playing around, and that's when I built the first sort of incarnations of the Outlands map. And it was all just experimental, or like looking at the original map and seeing how they did things. Is Expo gonna go in this dungeon that's closed? Drive me crazy.
And how has your style changed? Because the reason I asked this question is after you first started showing me the map, which is well over 2 years ago, I noticed your style changed quite a lot after you had interactions with a certain other shard. Is that who's influenced you the most?
Yeah. Well, I started to look around. I met this guy named Francis, who had this. It was called the Red 9 map demo, and he had put it online, and it was one of the nicest instances of mapping that I'd ever seen. You know, it really looked the way I imagined the Outlands map looking. And I reached out to him, and I got a hold of him, and I was like, hey, I'm building this map. What are you doing with your map? And he wasn't doing anything with his map. He said he'd moved on from Ultima, and he wasn't going to use the map anymore, so he offered it to me, or to the Outlands project in general. And that was one of the first times that I learned how to pull things from other maps and put them on Outlands, which started to change the shape of the map in general. And he also sent me an RAR file full of old maps from projects that were dead, or
some of the ones you showed me a while back.
Yeah, so I had like a folder of 25 maps right now, and I looked through all of them, any of them that I could open, and I searched for inspiration, and I pulled some things from them and rebuilt them. And the Ruined Lyceum, for example, is an area that I pulled from another map, but you wouldn't even know it because it doesn't look nearly the same anymore. It was some like tropical thing, had weird statues and different art in it, and I completely redid it.
Yeah, I was convinced that was your build because it's your style as well.
Yeah, I think I showed you the before and after. It doesn't look anything the same, but those were sort of the jumping off points that I took. Also, I ran into this shard called Andaria, which is where Andaria gets its namesake from, and it's this amazing Czech role-playing shard run by this guy named Nolda and his team. And I asked if I would be able to use their map assets, and he said yes. And it was one of the most amazing maps that I'd ever seen. What was so cool about it was that they had taken the original map and rebuilt specific areas. So Andaria is built by the Andaria shard, which is why we called it Andaria. On their map, it's called something else. But Andaria was definitely a major find for me, as well as the art that they had, which is incredible. I keep talking about this stupid grass. I don't even know why I talked about it in the podcast, but it was the first thing that came to mind. But there are these 3 grass tiles that Andaria had, and I took them and used them everywhere. I think it's changed the map.
So
it changed the map. I was so excited when I saw it, because I looked everywhere. Like I looked on UOPixel and I pulled off all of the art that they had there, and basically every publicly available repository for art I know about, and I've gathered all of the art from it and imported all the art onto Outlands. And when I found that grass, like, this is what I've been wanting to make the world feel more alive. So
it's spectacular. It's changed the forest areas completely for the better.
yeah, it makes it seem so much more alive. You know, so much, even if it's flat, it feels less flat. It's much more dynamic. But I'd credit the Andaria team, Shard, definitely for teaching me a bunch about mapping and pushing me to evolve my style. I think once I added Andaria, the other cities had to, pick up. That's when I rebuilt Prophalia, and Terran came along. I really love Terran. I still hate Horseshoe Bay, but that's just because of you.
So do I. Yeah, well, the thing is, it's not that I hate the town. It's just that I feel like there's maybe one town too many. But it's as it happens, maybe that isn't true anymore.
Maybe there's not enough towns anymore.
Maybe I was saying to you that you had one town too many when we were expecting 500 people. Now I'm expecting at least double that. So yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
Oh, also, while you're talking about Andaria and Francis, what I like as well is that you've kind of honoured them, Matt. That's the best way of giving people credit. So the monastery is named after Francis, I believe. Yeah,
the monastery is one of his builds, though it's obviously been completely rebuilt and resituated on the map. I work in a field where credit is very important, and I have given credit to everybody that I possibly can. When the website launches, you'll see there's a credits page. Everybody's listed, all the way down from Bathos, who's helped us with the animations, to Tallow, who's helped us with houses, to Francis with the map, Nolda and his team, Vorspire with the patcher, everybody, Amarilius with his generous contributions with deco and also map assets. It has been important to me to offer credit to people where credit is due, because a lot of people have put in a tremendous amount of heart and soul into projects, and I wanted to honor that, I guess, in some way.
Yeah, I think it's shown a lot of club, and I think the way you haven't with other services reflects really well on the Outlands project.
You cut off there. What did you say?
I said I think it reflects really well on the Outlands project that you haven't been competitive with other servers. You've been wholesome in your praise for other servers and things that they do well. It's a nice change. Hopefully, it will kind of prompt a change in everyone's behavior in the UO community.
Yeah, for sure. I think the UO community can be a bit toxic at times. There are a lot of projects and people that I don't like or agree with, but I think credit is due in many cases. There are a lot of amazing shards out there that we hope to be like one day. So definitely, a lot of people that I admire, and projects that I admire, map work that I admire, and art that I admire. So it's it's definitely something that I feel is necessary. Credit where credit's due.
Scan for some more questions, because I'm taking us well off topic. Apologies. One from Dreadlord Chase. This is from the forums as well, sorry. What's your development workflow like? Do you use anything for project management, source control, etc., which I guess is partly aimed at Luthien rather than yourself? But
yeah.
Elements.
My versioning is an absolute mess. Basically, every time I make a new map or a map patch, I back things up always to the cloud and onto a separate drive. I never would have forgiven myself if I'd lost a map after putting hours and hours of work into it. So my versioning is just done through Windows, basically, using folders and Dropbox. And Luthien uses GitHub, pushes his source code that way, and he keeps track of his versioning through that repository, as far as I know, anyway. In terms of development, discussion, that sort of thing, I have never spoken a word to Luthien before, like a spoken word. We communicate by text almost constantly and have for the past 3+ years now. Communicate daily. He and I, when he's at work, I communicate with him one way, and when he's at home, I'm on Discord with him, but we've never spoken on the phone or anything like that. We have an agreement, though, that I focus on the map and community management side of things among everything else, and he does the code and everything else, and I try not to interfere. Sometimes I liaise, I guess, probably drives him crazy, in as least invasive way possible, I guess, if that makes sense, where people are telling me things or unloading on me or offering feedback on me, and I try to make it concise and drop it off for him to digest in a way that is effective. He has a lot of feedback on his plate. I found myself the other day going through the map bugs channel, and there really aren't, I mean, I left it for like 6 months so it would stack up before I actually tackled it, and there aren't that many, but like halfway through I was like, oh, fuck this, like fuck that person. I hate them for for reporting this bug. Like, yeah. I'm resentful that I have to fix this. And the amount of patience and work that Luthius has put into fixing things is really mind-blowing. And also how incredibly responsive he is to feedback, which I think is a huge part of the success of the community we've grown.
Yeah, very much so. I'm really impressed with the way he's responded to community, especially around PvP suggestions. You know, there's been kind of a solid group of testers working on PvP for so long, and he's kind of responded to their requests, at least allowed people to trial them on the server.
Yeah, for sure. He's been miraculous in the way that he handled things, or continues to handle things. It's with class and it's impressive. Oh, he definitely makes people feel like they're listened to. I know he gets bombarded, so if I could make a plea for people to please stop messaging him with your stupid shit. We have better things to do. I've tried my
best recently. I've been guilty of it in the past, of sending him a ton of PMs about things. And yeah, I've tried to. Now, as we approach launch and this around, I'm making a conscious effort not to bother him as much.
Yeah, thanks. That's appreciated. I mean, his time could be really, more well spent than talking about mechanics with people when they can find that information online, for example. So just be mindful of how you're communicating with developers, and it's greatly appreciated.
Axel and Jib are talking about something I like to say in the chat. So I don't know if anyone else remembers. My guild and I went back to OSI in about 2007, the last time we went to OSI. Anyway, around that time, there was the I don't know if you'd call it the invasion of Magintia or something, but every single building tile in Magintia became lootable, basically, gradually over time. So not all at once, over a period of, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks. And it created some amazing battles. There was no guard zone over the town for this period, and there was kind of a monster invasion. Would you ever consider doing something the same on Outlands? Shubei?
Maybe. I don't know, that sounds really messy, like giving people looting privileges of a town. There's a lot of stuff there that I don't really want people to have access to. But I think that the flexibility of the custom map definitely allows for some interesting things to happen. Like a comet hitting Horseshoe Bay and blowing it out of the water, for example, would be one way that we could go. I just saw Borsmith ask, will you be able to put items in NPC bookshelves? Right now, no. And the reason why is because I decorated the entire map and centered, which makes everything static. So a lot of the world doesn't have that interactivity that you might be used to. It helps cut down on item count tremendously because everything is frozen. So that's one way that we're lessening the lag on the shard. Also, like signs, building signs, for example, you click it and it says bank. It doesn't say the Great Prevailing Bank. So yeah, you won't be able to stow things away and hide them in bookshelf crates or things like that.
I kind of like that, but it's very minor. I like looting the NPC books.
It doesn't say that we can't add them, though.
Yeah, I think we'll see.
We can add them in game anyway.
We'll see how performance goes, because we could do like a blanket unfreeze on those items and leave them in the world so that people can interact with them. But for now, we're going to leave them frozen. Sorry.
Axel just prompted me to look at one of my own questions as well. He's asked about the Owyn love story. And my question that I wrote down was, it's obviously lovely for Expo. How did you find a gem like Expo, and how have you chosen your other staff? I'm sure there's place for staff.
Well, I can speak about how Luthius and I met first. We met. I saw him make a post on Reddit, and he was promoting an expansion that Ancorp 2 was putting out, and I reached out to the Ancorp team, specifically Abigor, or actually I reached out to Luthius, then he connected me to Abigor so I could talk about contributing some map work for the project. And as Ancorp went down, Luthius and I stayed in touch, and basically I said I'm working on this map, he said I'm working on this code base, and we decided that we would release Outlands after about 2 years of going back and forth talking about what we were developing. And Expo approached me. I get approached a lot. Today I was approached by someone who said, like, they were asking me how to connect to the shard, and the next question was, can I be staff? And I always say, like, make yourself valuable, get involved in the community, learn about our mechanics, and then, let's talk. Because I have always said I'll only hire from within the community just because I want to get to know people. And I think Outlands is so heavily customized that you have to know what's going on to be able to help people. Right, and also, I want to train people to be, good staff members sort of to my liking. So Expo...
sorry to talk over you. I'm always naturally suspicious of people to be staff.
Yeah, I mean, you can't... Honestly, I don't think you have any good intentions if you want to be a staff member. Like, if you're begging to be staff, that's like red flag. It's not... You probably have nothing to offer.
Oh, no, it's true. I have nothing. Done anything.
So then there was this guy named Expo, and he messaged me and he was like, hey, I have some experience. I'd like to contribute some things. Are you looking for any staff? And I said no. I said no, but make yourself useful. If you have anything you'd like to contribute, then go ahead. And before I knew it, Expo was posting things in the forums. Like, he was making an animated GIF about the new status bar, and he was making videos, and he was answering questions and linking people and like taking a load off of my plate. And I thought, this guy's great. So we got to talking, and Expo went from being like a counselor to a seer like overnight, and then he went to be the head seer, and he was working with another seer that we had on board, and then now Expo will be an administrator on the shard because he's proved himself so valuable. But he's also taken on the Twitch presence, did the amazing launch video. He's done a ton of other videos in the video and media channel. Expo has proven to be the MVP of the Outlands staff team.
I noticed you said something. You said something the other day in Discord about how Outlands would be launching in 2020 if it wasn't for Expo or something.
Yeah,
like
it's true. I'd still be like trying to figure out how to use the wiki.
Or Twitch, apparently.
Or Twitch. Yeah, no, I feel like a grandfather when it comes about technology these days.
Yeah.
And then the other staff members, so there's Luthien and myself, the developers and founders, and then Expo lead administrator, and Lens, who's the lead administrator, but he's also working on the role-playing side of things, as a role-playing liaison and sort of community outreach member. I think he'll have a much less public presence than the rest of us, but his role is very important in terms of making sure that the role-playing community is heard.
Because I really like that you're taking care of that side of things. I think that's kind of something that's really been appreciated. Even on OSI, it was they very much had to just do things themselves. They weren't given the support. They add so much color and depth to a server that they need additional support.
Yeah, I think that the role-playing community is a solid foundation for any shard, and they tend to move and make a home and stay around, and they're valued for sure. So we're happy to have a huge role-playing community joining us, and it's good to have someone who can facilitate that kind of interaction for sure. So that would be Lens, and then we have 6 or 7 counselors now from various different time zones.
They're drawn from the player base, basically.
Yeah, the counselors are drawn from the player base. I've watched people, who was most helpful, who could type in complete sentences, who can support people when it's needed. Also being mindful of what is happening in terms of time zones, because we have an international player base and we need to have international support. So we have people from all over the world. We also have some varied language support. I speak a bit of French. Expo speaks Spanish, definitely English. We're hoping to expand that global roster as well as we go along. Definitely a wide-ranging amount of experience throughout the counselor team, but everybody brings something to the table, and I see growth for those people if they want to commit more time to the project. But I think for launch week, we'll leave people at counselor privileges because it's important that we can, monitor them and get to know them as we go along.
Yeah, that's always been my concern, and a good proportion of my friends have kind of stayed away from free servers over the years because they just expect and anticipate some kind of favoritism towards staff or some form of option. So I think it's really good that you've kind of got limited people with anything above counselor powers.
Yeah, counselors can't do anything. They can really support people and they can't do much else. So literally they take a page, they answer it, if they even have to make themselves appear, and then they're teleported back to a staff lounge area. I don't know if Expo you want to go to the staff lounge just so you can show people what that looks like.
Sure.
See, I sat there.
Oh, we have the
There we are.
imposter here. The imposter.
It'd be so much nicer to be able to have this chat exclusively in UO, like
Yeah, just typing around to each other. So this is the staff lounge that I built. So basically, counselors will answer your queries and support you from here. So if it's a message that they can answer your page just by sending you a message back, then it will happen from here. If they need to go to you, they will teleport to you and then immediately be teleported back to this room. We're really concerned with any extra amount of advantage that you can gain from being a staff member. No scouting, no running around, no advantage will be gained from being a counselor. That's important to me.
That's going to set many people's minds at rest, I think. And yeah, it's something to maybe try and convince some of my friends that have never really given free servers a go that this is actually different. Okay, I'll move on to some more questions from I don't think there's been any chat.
Sorry, hold on. Just to butt in real quick, because somebody was asking about the jail, but I'd rather show the hype train. Just a heads up.
What is this?
There's the hype train, the station.
What?
Actually made
What on
it. Look, and then there's...
Who built this? Is this you, Owen?
Who do you think
Oh,
built
it's
this?
not-
I built this. As like at one point we were gonna do this hype video with all of the players
for
streaming onto
stress
the
test.
train.
Yeah, for the stress test.
For the stress test. So I literally built a train out of UO map
Yeah,
stuff.
I love it. This shows how long this server's been in development that you've had time
Look
to
at there
build
you go.
this.
It's even getting ready.
I love the
to
way
go.
the track's built into the side of the mountain. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
show the engine. Yeah.
Well, Green Acres is a lot more impressive here than on OSI.
Yep. Look at that smoke.
That is absolutely amazing.
Oh, and you can go in. Hold on. 'Cause-
Although you've just given credence to all those people that were saying we should have guns when you started bringing trains into the game.
Yeah, muskets.
Suddenly we're in the 19th century.
Yeah, exactly. It would still be funny if we did this on the stress test. We just had like a bunch of people running
do
onto
it.
the train and then recording
I
it.
had said that we should start everybody in the train station, and then you have to actually get into the train, and you'll be teleported out. Which would
Yeah,
be great.
imagine like relying on players.
To figure that out.
Yeah, to figure that out, or also to like new player zone this way, Prevalia this car, and then imagine the number of people that are like, I meant to be a new player.
Just like in the real world. Oops, I took the wrong train. Crap.
Yeah, the wrong turn. Like there's even got a map up there, map of the world. I think there's a bar down the other end if you want to go have a drink.
I like this, the cargo. You got the cargo back here.
Yeah.
Right, Expo, are you finished showing off?
Yeah, I am. You can go on. Sorry.
Okay, so there
Go
was
to
a bit
jail,
of,
Expo.
Yeah, I guess jail. There was a bit of drama about the murderer system a while back. I think Luffy has proposed a possible alternative that got some mixed feedback. So, question from Acarius Alexios is: will the murderer system be revisited if the current penalties fail in some way?
Yes, for sure. That's been brought up a few times. People have been concerned about the murder system and the financial penalty idea. I know that recently people have said like money means nothing. I think the fact that we have half the loot drops that you might be expecting, money will mean something to you. And also when you realize how expensive things are, like houses or special clothing or goods that you can buy from the Pavilion merchant, like we have some major guild sinks that people are going to be working towards. So if all you're doing is killing people, you're going to need to do something to get some money. But yes, if the penalties aren't enough, then we will definitely revisit them. in that case, we'd offer amnesty to all murderers. That's something that Luthien has said. It's been made public that if we were to change the murder system, or costs would go up or down, then we would most likely wipe everybody's murder count, so everyone starts on the same page again.
Yeah, comments on this jail. This probably isn't going to be large enough just for Phoenix's character, let alone.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of them. We thought about like public shaming jails, like for people who are caught macroing with more than 3 characters or whatever. Well, they'll be banned, but if you're failing the CAPTCHA, for example, you might be moved to the jail cells outside of Terran, or if you've done something really terrible, then you might have to go to the cell in Lower Prevalia. I think
That's where I'm going.
Public jails would be pretty funny.
Just occasionally, to someone that really misbehaves, put them in jail in the middle of the town.
Yeah.
Here's the
Like
public jail.
Change their logout time so they'll. Oh, I've seen this one. Noticed.
Yeah. Go to Terran now. Go to those little cages outside.
Yeah,
of
the ones
Terran.
outside Terran, I absolutely love them. Okay, question from Costin. If donations exceed server costs for a given period of time, how will you use the leftover money?
I'm gonna go on vacation.
Probably deserved.
No, so Outlands is its own company and it has its own bank account, and all of the money stays within the project.
Where is the cells at?
It's at the front
Main
gate.
gate.
Oh, front gate. All right. Oh, there you go.
Closest to the town. Northwest. Yeah. There we go.
There.
Get in there.
But we'd also like to reinvest in the project. I think that it's important that we continue to develop and push things, and if that means commissioning an artist to make new art.
Oh, that's so good. Look at it. Please lock someone in there.
Yeah, we'll shame people there. Oh, vile thief. But yeah, we've always been very transparent about what it costs to run the server. Right now, we're looking at about $3,000 a year in terms of running the server. No staff are paid. Everyone's doing this out of the goodness of their heart. It's all a labor of love right now. But Outlands is paying for itself now, which is great. The financial burden's come off of my plate. People have been very generous with their support. It's safe to say that Outlands will be online for the year at least. First year of hosting is paid for already, which isn't something I'll put into writing, but I'll let the viewers know that they don't have anything to worry about. So Outlands is a self-contained entity, and it's going to be all right. So no, it's not going in my pocket, that's for sure. As much as I'd love to, take a cut, I might pay people who are contributing things. But we'll see how that goes. I don't want people to get the expectation that they're going to be paid for anything. But I'm happy to pay for, a certain... What did that book just say?
I'm reading it on the side just to make sure.
Censor the book. Let's leave. No, don't put Hig. I don't really know anything about Hig other than he shows up on streams every now and then. And the other day I was watching Hig, and he must have walked. Well, first of all, he sets up a desk and a chair for all new players who log in, and he walks them around Shelter Island to tell them about Outlands. He's like, this is the green player statue, this is the storage shelf, these are some of the base mechanics, welcome to Outlands. And he, at one point I logged in and he'd made new people line up to talk to him, to interview them to see if they could be a part of Outlands. And I thought it was...
You are amazing.
I thought it was the most amazing thing. It's like, that is definitely a joyful moment, for me, watching player
interactions like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hig, as someone,
Yep.
Civ just said in chat, Hig is a sign of server health. That's for sure. I think, we need more good people like that to balance out the not so good people. Yeah, Hig's great.
Okay, so another question from forum. Any chance of, or any possibility that more skills This is one that's quite close to home for me, or close to my heart. Sorry, because you know how much I love necromancy.
Yeah, I think that we've talked about necromancy and chivalry before. I think that they had some redeeming qualities. I think that it was too much for us to try to digest and put in the mix for launch or to balance at all. But I could see necromancy and chivalry being introduced as PVM skills for sure that don't have any effect in PvP.
Yeah.
Once we've struck a fine-tuned PvP balance, then I'm not too keen to alter it in any way. So yeah, I could see those skills being added for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right to look at them as PVM only. The PvP balance in this era is quite delicate. And
Yeah.
as much as I'd like to see Necro in, I'd be happy if it was just PVM only.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot to do there for sure. I'd also love to see like other spell systems like druidry or more of like a racial class-based system, like dark elves or high elves, or low fantasy might be kind of cool to incorporate in some way. But that's all future, of course.
There's plenty for Luthien to get stuck into.
Yeah, for sure. We've got plans, none that I'll reveal on stream, for things that we're hoping to accomplish within the first 12 to 18 months of the game. But you can look forward to sort of constant content expansions. Launch has been a huge thing to get organized, to put everything together and coordinate all at once. And I think once we have a bit less off of our plate and we're just going into game management and expansion development or content pushes, then it will be really fun. I'm really looking forward to that part of this journey.
Okay, well that kind of leads on to another question from Black T. What are your plans for lore, events, etc.? Are there storylines planned post-launch?
Yeah, for sure. We've released a bit of the lore on the role-playing forum already. There's a cast of characters that's being developed as well, where you can go and read sort of biography about the... Sorry, I'm getting really distracted by what Expo's doing. In the game, I need to turn off the stream.
I'll turn off.
I think that role playing is really important, as I've said before, and I think that the more we can immerse players and our player base into a storyline throughout the world, and to add reason and push and pull and consequence to the way that they're playing the game, then that's all the better. We will, of course, have these slapdash events like invasions or that people enjoy because they want to do something mindless. But if you want to get involved in something that's more immersive, like a specific role-playing event, or you want to meet a certain character, you stumble upon a certain character, then yeah, we definitely have plans to in-depth storylines and story arcs, quest arcs.
I love all the lore that's been posted so far. I've read every single bit of it.
Yeah. We had a guy named Ambush who was around for a hot minute, and he wrote the original creation story, and then we kind of translated it because it was quite garbled, and that was the birth of the creation story. And then the player bios were written by Lens, and it's been really, really fun to bring the world to life in that way. It's fun to dress all those characters. But yeah, you can read the lore and some of the base story arcs and quest arcs that we have in progress on the role-playing forum.
And the fact that there seems to be such a strong roleplay community already.
Yeah, I love seeing that. Sign. I love seeing so many people come in and take things on, have ideas. I just saw someone posted like a Risk game on the forums as well, which looks pretty cool.
Fantastic. Yeah,
the more initiative that you can take, the better.
Yeah, it's encouraged me and my friends. We're going to try, for most of us, it'll be the first time we've tried being involved in any kind of roleplay at all. But it seems like this is the kind of setting and the chance to do something we've never done before. Yeah,
I think it'll be cool. I think it has at its core, I think that there's some really great elements happening now, and whatever the staff and team can do to facilitate, we will.
Okay, now this probably know the answer to these questions. One from Parasite. Are there plans to expand the landmass in the future, or do you think the present will be sufficient?
I think it'll be sufficient. I think at some points it might feel crowded, and we might need to open up certain areas for housing or add more room for people to place a house. That's the only thing that I can foresee. But I think that, we made the map 50% smaller for a reason, and that was to encourage people to interact with each other. That was a very conscious, calculated decision that we made. So I'll say yes. I think there's always room for expansion. I love to map. That's definitely what got me into all this mess. So if we need to add new areas, just recently I was talking to one of the map guys on the team, Silvio, and he is working on this really incredible project right now for us, which I can't wait to share and release. He's super talented. He's I'm in awe of what he comes up with. Really an amazing guy. And we started talking about like a expansion area, like a T2A style expansion area, which would be a huge undertaking, but I could see expansions like that happening, as well as land expansions happening on the map.
Okay, another question from Biorhythm about post-launch. Are continual skill balance changes going to be made once the game is launched? And if so, is it likely to be a theme of nerfing powerful skills or buffing underwhelming skills?
Well, I think that's a case-by-case basis situation. We're going to assess and evaluate as we go. The point of beta has been to strike as much of a balance as possible. You hear us talking about balance all the time because we're pretty obsessed with it. It's hard to say whether it will be, nerfs or buffs. I think that some things will probably need to be buffed and some things will need to be nerfed so that we can hit the right spot. And I think it'll be, as I said, we'll just have to cross that bridge when we get there. But of course, we always have the best interests in mind for the entire player base. And I know sometimes certain things affect certain playstyles more than others, and you often feel like you're being targeted, but you just have to understand and trust that we're doing what's best for the entire shard. We try to take everybody's feedback into consideration. Oh, this is Palma that Expo is showing on screen right now. This is a dungeon that came from Rapport, but initially it was all one level. There were no multiple levels, so I broke it into 3. So we have obviously a first, second, and third level, but I also added all of this transparent water and the decoration that is under the water and adjusted the flow of it. Basically, it's become a new dungeon, but it is an interesting one for sure.
I liked the alternative version you developed where it had kind of like muddy or swampy water as well. Do you remember?
Yeah, I did the entrance just as a test before I went through and did the whole thing, but I made the water more murky and made it feel really swampy, but because Darkmire Temple is so swampy, it became a bit of a conflict. We had too many swampy dungeons.
Right.
We needed a different kind of theme to base the monsters off of, so we just went with sort of pure water temple, and then Luthien ran with it and made it into some kind of underwater electric weird thing.
Yeah, I think Pullman's turned out great actually, and it was one of the better dungeons on Rapport. Actually.
Yeah, I always liked this dungeon. I thought it was cool. I like the transparent water. I think it added an extra layer to it,
Yeah,
which
the
is really cool.
transparent water's hot.
Then all that water towel. I think I got extra carpal tunnel when I put all those water splashes that weekend. That was a rough one.
You seem to go from no dungeons to lots of dungeons very, very quickly.
Yeah,
That was kind of the last thing you added.
They built up pretty quickly. Dungeons are really fun. It's like much easier to design a dungeon than anything else.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, when you gave me the chance to play around with dungeons, that was as much fun as I've had in game for a long, long time.
Yeah, you did a nice job with Mausoleum.
Yeah, that's my boast, by the way, everyone. I did all that uncomplicated parts of Mausoleum.
CLX designed Mausoleum.
Actually, take any credit.
Word is out. Yeah, that was one of the generous contributions that we had from players who contributed to the map. Also, I would build new land, and I just couldn't bring myself to do the coastline, but CLX just plowed through and placed all those coastlines. So if you find any errors on the coast,
I keep finding some myself now. I've been running around the map a lot, looking at housing locations the last kind of week or so, and I found loads of coastline errors, but it's too late. it's too late to fix them now.
We'll get to them eventually.
I spent so long on that. I think there was a solid week of just correcting coastline errors because all the tiles were sticking out one too high on the Z-axis or something.
Yeah.
Almost the whole way around the coast.
Yeah, it was rough. Those were learning curves for sure.
Okay, I think I'm almost done with the questions from the now. So if anyone's got any, chuck them into chat. One last one from Violence on the forum. How much time are you putting into Outlands? I don't know if you can answer this for Luthien as well.
All of our time.
Have you ever felt burnout during the development stage, and what will the development cycle look like post-launch?
Good question. We're dedicating all of our time to Outlands right now, which is pretty crazy. I am only working a few days a week right now, which is lovely. But that gives me a lot of time to work on Outlands. So, especially in the last, 6 months or so, it's been pretty full on Outlands to get it to this point. Luthien just made a joke in staff chat about how he's extremely handsome and also sedentary, which is a pretty accurate description of both of us. Sedentary, I spend a lot of time sitting here. I have started to see a chiropractor because of the back problems I have from the posture from working on Outlands, basically. It is an intense time commitment for sure, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it thoroughly. There are aspects of it that I resent more than others, but I think this is a hobby. I can't imagine my life without Outlands at this point. So, for better or worse, I'm spending a lot of time on Outlands.
Yeah. It's
also, am I worried about Burnout? I think there are definitely days when I'm a little more spiky than others, to quote a dear friend of mine. When I get a bit combative in chat and I just get frustrated, but I have to remember that people are just discovering the project and don't know as much as I do or other members of the team know. And that is sort of a check yourself, get out and go for a bike ride kind of moment when I need to just step away from the computer for a bit and turn off Discord on my phone. So right now I'm waking up to about 60 private messages a morning from people with different concerns and questions and ideas, and a lot of it is valid. A lot of it I question why they even bothered to message me. So yeah, it's a huge commitment.
I think that's something you should talk about, really. That most of the questions you get. I mean, I ran a far less successful AOS server in 2012, and what the hardest thing was constant comments in constant Discord PMs, and it must be 10 times worse for you than it was for me. So maybe it's a time to say to people, just post in the general chat and a player will answer, rather than PMing Owing constantly.
I now have an automatic message that I send to people when they message me when I just can't be bothered. And when I say I can't be bothered, I mean your questions can be answered by the community and you don't really need a developer to hold your hand and walk you through it. But there's definitely an overwhelming number of private messages, and I'm really unable to comment on specific gameplay styles. I'm not going to give you advice on your templates or your build. You can find that information on the forums. There's also a specific channel in the Discord where you can ask about templates and builds and have the community, offer you support. Also, I probably won't be giving out directions. If you're lost and you can't find your way, we have this thing called the Atlas in-game where you can click and say, I'm here, I want to go here, and it will give you a little arrow that you have to follow. So I think the main points of that are we have a wonderful community, so please take advantage of them. Use all of the channels in Discord at your disposal. Refer to the forums as much as possible. If you feel like your question isn't getting the answer that you need in Discord, then make a forum post. I think the main things that you should talk to me about are bugs, if you have them. Luthien and I, you can message those to us directly so they don't spread too widely too quickly. If you need technical assistance, like you're having trouble with your patcher, Outlands has a TeamViewer subscription, so I can hop into your machine and help you install it if you need it. Or if you need account assistance, I'm the guy that you need to talk to. Also, if you feel like someone's breaking the rules, then reach out to me. But, a lot of those sorts of things, like conversations or interactions that you have in game that you feel are questionable, a lot of that can be handled player to player in game. We've given you the tools that you can kill somebody if they're bothering you, or you can leave if they're bothering you. So just try to have as much sort of mature discretion as possible, and I'll do the same in response. But yeah, you'll get this message that says, "Hi, thanks for your message." please don't bother me.
You set up a macro. Yep.
Yeah, I set up a macro, so sorry if you get it. I've actually been joking with a few people of become quite meaningful friends of mine. And
If you
if
dare
they,
send that to me.
if they message me, then they get this copy and pasted into their chat, and they just go, "What the fuck?" But yeah.
Okay, there's a few good comments in questions even in chat.
All right.
So one from Dogstyle. Will we have features like invite a friend to play Outlands that would give any sort of bonus?
No. In the past, those referral programs have just been abused, so there's really no great way to do it, unfortunately. You referring people to the shard is your reward because you'll have more people to play with, and I think that everybody on Ultima Online shards in general just wants to have population to play with. So bring your friends, spread the word. But no, we're not going to be doing any kind of a referral program. It just leads to headaches for everybody involved, unfortunately.
Okay. I think Fuji was asking about boat docks, and this is what I'm not completely clear about actually. Do we know how many boat docks there are in the land, or do you want to explain about how placing houseboats works in general?
Yeah, I'd have to... Hold on, let me verify. See if the man in charge.
I know a little bit about it while you check. So there's, from what I've seen, you can only place houseboats at specific houseboat dock locations, which are clearly marked on the map by kind of a house sign on a post and a kind of walkway, 5 or 6 tile walkway that leads out into City.
I was way off. I was going to say there's 26 on the map, and Luthien just said there's 65. As usual, the man, the scope creep master, he's added 65 docks in the world. So those are all on...
Classic Luthien.
Yeah, those are all... And he just said I can potentially add more.
So I believe how they work is you have to click the sign that already exists, and it will automatically place the boat for you. You don't place it manually like you do houses.
That's right. So the docks are on the north and west side of the landmass, and they're spread throughout on the water side. And the sign and dock is there, and you double click it, and you can choose from the available houseboats. When I was building that houses, I made only 5 houseboats. So there's 2 that are south facing and 3 that are east facing, and you can choose from those with potential for more in the future.
And am I right in thinking that they're paid for in the
doubloons
currency? Yes.
Yeah. So if you want a houseboat, you have to buy it with doubloons, which is part of the Naval ship system, which is huge in Scopie as well.
So that is only. So one of the things I'm going to try and do in the few days we have remaining is try and test that system. Clue about it. So doubloons are earned from sinking NPC ships.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and you need doubloons to register a ship. So as you work your way up in, from a small ship, which has to be crafted, to a larger ship, you need to register each ship with doubloons. But small ships don't need doubloons to register, so you can get right out of the water with a small ship. But the whole ship system relies on player crafting, so you need to buy your ship from a player, which will be the first gateway to people who are looking sort of for island housing.
I love it, and it's amazing hearing people's plans. They all kind of resolve around lumberjacking, carpentry, boats, which I think is amazing. such a change from the usual start.
Yeah. Axel's saying, "What's your favorite role-playing guild, and why is it the orcs?" Oh, I think I like the orcs. I always think the orcs add an extra flavor to any shard.
You get very different varieties of clans, in my experience.
Yeah,
so I've known Shadow Clan on and off since 1999. Scarily enough.
Yeah.
I think who else is there? Boulder Fist and Blood Clan, I think.
Yeah.
I might be missing one. Okay.
Yeah.
Question from.
I think they're all here though, which is pretty exciting. And
really,
we've done some. There's some orc content like the orc housing, and Luthien is suggesting this idea that if you have a blessed clothing item, it will automatically equip. So if you have a blessed orc mask, when you die, you'll automatically be resurrected with it on. So those sorts of little enhancements help role players.
There's obviously the Prevalia guild look fairly large, organized, and
Prevalia Guild is amazing. They've really like insisted that Prevalia is Roman, like they're running with this Roman.
I like that, even though it doesn't necessarily fit the.
I messaged the guildmaster the other day. I was like, "Have you considered Cambria?" because it has. He's been messaging me and suggesting some things that like he wants a bathhouse built and a forum and a conversation room and a cathedral with a crypt and all these things. Like, I'm totally keen to do all of those things, but I said they all already exist in Cambria. Maybe you guys want to be Cambria instead of Prevalia.
Too late now.
Yeah, too late. They've got their branding in place.
Okay, a couple of questions from the chat. A-Team Adams asking, how flexible is carpentry crafting? This is probably more for Luthien than you, unfortunately.
No, I can answer that.
Will there be lots of decor options for housing?
Yes, for sure, and more to come, definitely. I've added thousands of pieces of artwork, and a lot of that is furniture. So as we go on with patches and expansions and content releases, we'll be able to release new deco items for players. There's a lot of flexibility in that sense. It's something that I'm excited about for sure. The look and feel of the shard will constantly evolve. Right now, it's very bare bones. Like the basics are in place, but as you go, there will be more. We've had some players who are experimenting with the plant system right now, and there's a lot of really cool new plant artwork that's available. It's a lot of flexibility.
I love how you think this is bare bones. It's by a distance the least bare bones UO server in history.
Well, I think like in terms of deco, like housing deco, it's pretty simple stuff right now. There's not a lot of extra things that you can build or add to your house. So in that regard, yes, there will be. Oh, there, Expo spying on Dirk Trumpwood's house, who's got some.
Yeah, I'm on DTs. Oh, that's the one I knew that had some right now.
Yeah.
I don't know where Grizz lives, unfortunately.
He's got some vines and some trees and some flowers growing.
It's crazy. So I've been following Outlands for 2.5 years now, and there's so many systems I don't understand. So I don't understand ships. I don't understand clouds. It's unbelievable. Luckily, a lovely young man called Expo has made some videos to explain some of them.
Yeah, you should watch them. You might be the first person to watch the videos.
Right? That would be awesome if somebody actually watched the videos. Wow.
Wait until after launch Expo, then suddenly there'll be hundreds of people watching them because they've got no idea what crazy stuff Luthien has coded.
Everyone wants to know about the wiki.
Screw the wiki.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
Come on, Expo.
No, the wiki is it's in the progress. It's a work in progress, but right now, like I said, launch is a bit more important. The wiki, though, of course, is gonna come. But I'm not a fan. That's the problem is I'm also not a fan of giving away so much information. So it's kind of like I have a love-hate relationship with the wiki.
I think it's necessary, and especially necessary for launch. So we're gonna need to get to work on it.
Is that what you're saying? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, this is my subtle suggestion.
So Dogstyle is saying, can we contribute to the wiki? My impression, correct me if I'm wrong, Expo, is that you've had lots of offers, but no one's really come through with any realistic.
Yes. No, that's exactly what has happened. People have offered. It's funny because it reminds me of what Owyn said earlier about, oh, you want to be staff? Cool. Okay, well, do something first.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
I may possibly be one of those people been very willing to help, but when it's actually come down to it, I have done nothing.
No, I understand. People got shit to do, and it's hard enough for somebody to do it. Us to do it. So I'm not gonna blame somebody else that doesn't.
We just need to clone you a few times, by the sounds.
Yeah.
No.
Please no.
No, please no. Exactly. He knows. One is enough.
Someone's just asked, can you talk about Ultima Mapper and what we think of all the monster info included on there? I think it's incredible. That was all player driven. That had nothing to do with us. Someone took that on board, made that entire resource, and there was nothing we could do to stop it. So I'm inspired and in awe of people who contribute in that way. I think that's what makes the community amazing. So Yeah, no, that's information at your disposal. I think sadly it's mostly out of date now because he did all of that work and then we changed everything. But
Exactly.
it is definitely a huge resource. So you're welcome to use it if you want it. It's it's a tool that you can use at your disposal.
Okay, Moondoggy has asked, and we've kind of answered it over a few questions, but long-term goals simply. So I don't know if you wanted to kind of talk about where you wanted to be in a year or 2 years or something.
Be the greatest free shard ever.
You already managed that. That's the case already.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're already there.
Yeah, let's not be too cocky, boys. We've got a launch still.
I've got faith in you.
It was funny because Black T was like, I don't even need Outlands to launch because I've been playing here for 16 months already,
Yeah,
and it's
that's
the
kind of
most
how
fun I've ever had with
Yeah,
you.
it's kind of how I feel as well.
Yeah. Goals, I guess. That's tricky. Of course, we have hopes and dreams that it'll be the biggest, best, most successful, but how do you measure that, I guess? I don't even know if population's a real good guide for that. We all want people to play with, but I don't know if we necessarily need the title of being the biggest, because that's a cheat category anyway.
The best is more important.
Yeah, I think best is more important. I think that we just want to, run and operate a shard that we're proud of, and also to continue to release content that we think is really cool. There are a lot of ideas that are floating around, and a lot of ideas that have been thrown out in beta that we want to incorporate into Outlands. And I think a constantly evolving gameplay experience would be a huge goal. I don't ever really want to, land on a point of stagnancy where things aren't changing. Also, I think that one of the goals is definitely longevity. We want to be around for a long time, and I think that is something that a lot of people say, but if I could, genuinely tell you that I hope to be here 5, 10, 15 years down the line running a successful shard, then that's an honest that's an honest
I think people are finally coming around to that. If they've been playing UO for 10, 15, 20 years, what we need now is one server that sticks around, and we're not waiting for 3 years for one server that lasts for 6 months.
I mean, of course we can't control so many things, and players are fickle beasts, but I think you can count on the staff being here for you and your gameplay experience. If you want to play Ultima Online, then Outlands is going to be here. We've also put a lot of effort into the end game experience as well. There are a lot of gold sinks and things to work towards, and we've spent a lot of time working on the economy, and there's been a lot of work put into aspects of the gameplay that I don't think many shards have really put in the past.
That's actually something I'm showing on screen right now, which were the player customizations and the achievements, skill titles, things like that.
I haven't even seen some of this stuff before, Expo. It's just mind-blowing how much stuff Luthien has put in.
Yeah, the player customization system is huge.
Carnage is great. If PKs love this one, just because you have a chance of, when you kill another player, they explode in a shower of core.
Can you do a demo of that one, or is it too hassle? Which character?
Probably a hassle. Yeah. I probably could. But...
I can try that myself, can't I? A question
I just wanted to touch base more on that goal and longevity thing, as I know that a lot of people think that UO shards follow a cycle of hype and launch, players leave for the next shard, server shuts down, and that repeats itself. Of course, there's no guarantee to how to avoid that from happening, but it really comes down to the players, but we're hopeful that we've broken the mold in that sense. I think we focus a lot on the concept of long-term play, which many other shards haven't done in recent memory. So things like harder skill gain, less gold drops, more gold sinks, and less pay-to-win mentality. A lot of the systems we have are meant for players to grow with over time. I think the aspect system is a good example of that. Also, to feel a sense of accomplishment as they unlock things like this customization system that Expo is showing off. Things like spell hues and mount tokens aren't something that players can do in a week or two. So we've just put more thought into the end game offering than I think any other server has. and more thought into the economics involved and how players go about their experience, all the way from housing costs, which are more expensive than you're used to, reagent costs, which are more expensive than you're used to, guild costs, etc. If you want to make a guild, it's $50,000, and a lot of that is intended so that what you're experiencing in the game feels like an accomplishment instead of a foregone conclusion. And that is sort of the ethos,
Right.
the direction, the goal of the server is that, you'll build your character, but it's not going to be easy and you'll have to work for things. So
Well, there's so many more options for characters alone. You don't just build your initial.
yeah,
You
and
don't
people
just-
are like, what do I do with my one character slot? I'm like, well, you can build 15. First of all, you can try different things, and there's different things that people can do.
Yeah, the usual cycle for free show is people are excited for launch. They rush to a house. They buy everything else they want. They PvP solidly for a month, and then
And then they cry solidly
There's-
for 6 months.
as someone that obsesses over UO to a level matched by a few others, one of them being Phoenix, I can see enough stuff to keep me busy for
Years.
Years, yeah, years. I can't. It really is years.
Yeah, that's what we've created, and that's just the content that's available at launch. Let's not forget the content
Yeah,
that
the opportunities you've got to
is in the
do new
pipeline.
things. Yeah, and I guess you'll have more time to work on new systems after launch. In theory, once things settle down after the initial.
Yeah,
months.
there's definitely less flexibility in adding things post-launch than there is during beta. We've had a lot of flexibility to test and add things as you go along. Some things have worked, some things haven't. I think in the future there will definitely be, like a pipeline conversation system, or even focus groups of players where we can garner feedback from them, so that we don't rush into ideas that aren't widely accepted or aren't going to fly shard wide. We definitely have some crazy ideas that Luthia certainly has some crazy ideas. He keeps me balanced. He just shuts me down. So a lot of the crazy ideas I have don't make it to the public. But yeah, there's more to come in terms of content as well.
Okay, someone else. I'm guessing we're going to run out of time for any more questions soon. You'll have had a answering, but whilst I've got a few more, you just tell me when to stop.
Sure.
Someone asked. Sorry, I've forgotten who it was now. I can't remember to scroll up for it. About limits to guild and alliance sizes, and I guess you can give the official answer, and I can kind of say why I think that's a bad idea. And I know this isn't about me at all, but
No,
players,
there are no
players
limits to guild
themselves
size.
should limit that. If a group grows too large, it's down to the players to use a bit of player justice and temporarily ally to bring them down to size. That's my take on it anyway. I'm sure
I agree. I feel like that's something that players need to be able to take care of by themselves. The less a staff can interfere with gameplay, natural gameplay mechanics, the better.
Akasha has just given us his Twitch profile by asking under a different name, how much do I have to donate to get a rainbow pony mount?
Can't donate for a mount, unfortunately. Sad to say, especially a rainbow pony mount. Hi, Akasha.
Okay, I think we might be done on questions, unless anyone notices we missed from the.
All right.
Anything else to add?
Anybody have any other questions?
I do
we'll give it a
not.
minute.
That's for sure.
I think we've been at it for
running around
about
the map now.
It's
2 hours at this
It's
point.
been an hour and 48 minutes so far.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
And we've had a nice steady 70 viewers, which is great. Thank you very much for everyone that has been tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for putting up with my English accent, people.
Yeah. They were brought here because of you. I just saw, what original shard did you guys play on? I played on pretty much every shard that was out there.
Chesapeake.
Yeah, I didn't play OSI actually, if that's the question you're asking, which makes me an anomaly, I think.
Yeah.
I'm ashamed to admit it, but on the podcast I did with the Sandbox guys, I broke the truth. I was 12 and my mom wouldn't put her credit card on the internet, and I didn't even know that you could go to like GameStop or GameSpy or whatever and buy a card in a real store to get a code to go online.
No, there's no GameStop. It was Babbage's.
Yeah, whatever it was back then. Whatever it was in your country, what definitely wasn't the same as it was in my country.
True.
It was a different era, different world.
So, needless to say, I started playing free shards right away. The first one that I found when I googled was called Sentinel Heights, which was this amazing TUS 48E shard run by a husband and wife team. I think they were retirees, and it was really incredible. Some of my fondest memories were on that server, which grew into a shard called Epsilon Eridani, and then became Oblivion, which was the largest sphere shard at the time. We were peaking around like 400 people on at a time. It was a non-PvP shard, which is a very Care Bear place to grow up, but
It sounds perfect for you.
it was perfect for me. I mean, I think that's why I have a lot of ideas that skew towards, gameplay experience. The PVM side of things is definitely something that I'm more interested in than the PvP side of things. I'll admit I've learned a lot about PvP working on Outlands, like watching hundreds of duels and talking about PvP and learning about PvP as we go along. I've always said Luthien the mechanic man, and he's definitely got a grip of that. I'm not a huge fan of PvP myself, but
We're gonna change that.
Yeah.
Change that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna play.
You're gonna have to break your rules to just to log in to go to the arena. So
roll a character, learn to PvP.
You're not interested in playing, are you? It's quite obvious.
Yeah, no, I don't actually get. I shouldn't admit these sorts of things on a stream, but I don't really get much joy from playing the game anymore. I get a much more joy out of developing for the project. Developing in general, map making, community management, working with the community, that kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I do as well. It's fun to, deal with the players and everything, but to be honest, just like I said, I prefer to just help out and have everybody else enjoy themselves.
You are mad. Absolutely mad. I just noticed someone said they started on Pacific in '98 as well, which not that the question was aimed at, but that's also where I first played Pacific, May 1998.
And I see someone else has played Oblivion. Oblivion was a fun shard. There was a great community there. I actually met up with a friend who lives in the same city as me, who I knew from Oblivion. We had a beer the other day. So it was a great community. We had a lot of fun.
It's crazy that these UO connections can
last forever.
There can't be many other games that have done that.
Yeah. All right, okay. I feel like
we're done. Yeah.
We're waning. So just wanted to thank everybody for joining. Someone asked if I'd ever played Neverlands. Sorry, I'll answer that. I was one of the founders of Neverlands in a way. I started the Icrontic Shard, and that became Neverlands. So in a way, I played Neverland. Anyway, just as a reminder, Outlands launches next Saturday. That's 1 week today at 11 a.m. EST, October 27th, and we hope to see you there. But
cheers,
I'd highly recommend that you download and get in now if you're not already, so as to avoid any launch day hangups.
Exactly, and get everything resolved now.
Yeah, get it all organized now. Thanks for joining us. Beta will close most likely Wednesday at midnight. We're going to try to do a stress test at some point before then. So if you are able to log in with 25 characters and run around, please do it. But yeah, thanks for your interest in the project. It's been amazing getting to know you all and working on getting Outlands ready for launch. It's been a true labor of love, and I think that it's going to be a success. So get ready for the madness. And, oh, wait, I had a question. Hold on, one more question.
One more.
Oh, maybe not.
Waiting.
Still waiting.
Well, we know UO's back on the agenda because I'm still up at 2:42 a.m.
Is there ever a slim chance target closest will ever be added? No, you should give up. But thanks for asking. That's one thing
That's a great one to finish on.
Yeah, no, I mean that sums up development, like Discord chat in general. Like, Thank you so much for asking, but it's like the first thing that we did, and it's never going to change. So, have a lovely evening.
Yep. Have a lovely evening, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
See you
you.
around.
Cheers.
Good night.
Bye.